YouTube, welcome back to a new video and welcome to this channel. If you're watching, we're doing a history of your club today of Crawley Town, but I think it'd be amiss of me not to mention the football last night. Congratulations, England women teams, you finally brought it home. Commiserations to Germany, unluckily second place, but you've won it lots, and England haven't ever won the Euros before, so the women are doing them proud. Woo! But yeah, we're going back to club football now with the history of your club. Crawley Town is what we're looking at today, and their history. Well, they initially played friendly matches only from 1890, and the club's first match was actually played on 22nd of November in 1890, and they were at home to Lingfield. Crawley Town were actually formed, though, in 1896 officially, and became founding members of the West Sussex Football League that year, and they joined the junior division. They remained in the West Sussex League for 5 years before they transferred to the Mid Sussex League, winning the league in only their second season. But they disbanded at the end of the 1934-35 season and reformed in 1938, joining Division 2 of the Brighton and Hove District League. They played in the Sussex County Emergency League in 1945-46 before returning to the Brighton, Hove and District League in 1946-47, becoming members of Division 1. They stayed at this level until they entered the Sussex County League in 1951, before switching again 5 years later to the Metropolitan League, which was a competition for both professional and amateur sides. In 1958, Crawley changed their name to Crawley Town. Town retained their amateur status and went on to win the Metropolitan League Challenge Cup in 1959. Crawley turned semi-professional in 1962. They joined Division 1 of the Southern League. In 1969, they were promoted to the Premier Division of the Southern League, but the joy was short-lived, as the following season they were relegated back to the First Division, where they remained until the 1983-84 season, when they were promoted as runners-up. Crawley's most successful cup run at the time was in the 1991-92 season, when they reached the FA Cup third-round popper and played local rivals Brighton and Hove Albion, losing 5-0 in front of 18,301 fans at the Goldstone ground. In 1999, the club entered administration with debts estimated to be around £400,000. In October 1999, the club was bought by John Dooley after a period of 2 months in administration, with Billy Smith appointed as manager. At the time, Reds were the second bottom, but the club went on to finish in 12th place, 6 points above relegation zone, whilst the 2000-2001 season saw the town finish 11th. Crawley were much improved in the 2001-2002 campaign, which saw them finish 4th. Whilst Crawley finished 7th in 2002-03, the Reds found success in the 2003-04 season, when they ended their 20-season stay in the Premier Division of the Southern League by winning the division with 84 points. That was 12 points clear of second place Weymouth, and they also won the Southern League Cup for the second successive season. The title was secured with 4 matches remaining, with a 3-0 victory at Welling United, sparking celebrations from a large travelling contingent. Crawley would then be playing in the Football Conference, the highest level of non-league football, and that was for the first time in their history. A final position of 12th in their first season in the National Division was considered an impressive achievement for the club, who finished as the highest ranked part-time team in the country. Crawley also retained the Sussex Senior Cup by defeating Ringmer. In 2005, the SA Group bought the club and made the decision to go full-time for the first time in the club's history. Although this was necessary in order to allow them to compete in the division, it led to the departure of several key players, including the fans' favourite Charlie McDonald and goalkeeper Andy Little, who were unable to give up their day jobs to play full-time. The 2005-06 season didn't start well for Crawley, as the club found themselves third from bottom and out of the FA Cup after a shock defeat to Braintree Town. Francis Vines was subsequently sacked and replaced by former Chelsea manager and player John Hollins and his assistant Alan Lure. Things got worse for Crawley, and as attendances dropped, and so did the club's income. The club's owners were forced to slash the players' and staff wages by 50% due to the lack of funds. Several key players left the club, including captain Ian Simpemba, Simon Wormel, and record signing Darrell Clare. It looked certain that relegation was on the cards. However, 5 straight wins through March and April saw the club climb the table to 17th place and beat the drop by 10 points. The club was dropped 3 points at the end of the season for breaching the annual playing budget, but this had no effect on the final standings, and Crawley's league status was safe. However, they did later go into administration, with the insolvency specialist's Begbie's trainer placed in control of the club. Although Crawley Town had been in administration in the late 1990s, trouble began in 2006 when the club's players and staff were made to take a 50% pay cut and the entire squad was put up for sale. Crawley went into administration in June of that year and was revealed by local newspaper The Argus several days later that the chairman, Chas Majid, was an undischarged bankrupt and therefore banned from holding a position within the club. Majid later resigned from his post but remained involved. The fans started a red card campaign in order to remove Chas Majid and his brother Aswar Majid, which was Crawley Town's owner, from the club, with fans waving red cards at the Majids and forming a supporters' trust. It was revealed that the club was around £1.1 million in debt, with nearly £400,000 due to the HMRC, or HM Revenues and Customs, and the Majids claimed they were owed £700,000 by the club. By July of that year, the debts were closer to £1.4 million, including money owed to current and former staff, and an offer of 25p in the pound was rejected by the creditors. With HMRC unwilling to move on its demand, and the biggest creditor, the Majids, being unable to vote on the matter despite being owed money, it looked unlikely that the club could be saved. Well, by August 2006, only one bid had come in for the club, which was from the current owners. It was rejected by 3-1, and the administrators were therefore obliged to liquidate the club, and it was announced that the club would fold later that day. However, a couple of days later, in one final attempt to rescue the club, the creditors met again to decide on a final offer. The creditors were split, and so the administrator voted in Crawley Town's favour, allowing them to start the new season. The creditors would meet 14 days later to decide on an offer of 50p in the pound. The club was told that if the offer was rejected, then the club would fold, and then there would be no going back. By September 2006, the club's debt was £1.8 million, making former current players and staff the biggest creditors and giving hope that a rescue bid would be accepted. The offer of 50p in the pound was later accepted, and Crawley Town was able to continue for the time being. Though this didn't stop HMRC from trying to wind up the SA Group, Majid's company, over unpaid taxes. Aswar Majid was later jailed for tax fraud relating to his various other businesses. Crawley started the 2006-07 season by winning their opening 3 games and all but wiped out their 10-point deduction. The following month, however, the club's form dipped, and this led to John Hollins and Alan Lure losing their jobs. The news didn't go down well with the fans, as the pair had stuck with Crawley when others decided to leave, and they had managed to lift the club off the bottom despite a 10-point deduction. They were replaced by players Ben Judge and David Woosley with the help of John Yems, the former Fulham and Millwall coach. Life started well for the trio, who picked up 10 points from a possible 12, and Crawley finished 18th in the division and managed to beat the drop after securing the point they needed on the final day of the season. In May 2007, it was confirmed that all of Crawley Town's debts had been cleared. However, complications arose, and as a result, Crawley were given a 6-point penalty for the new season, and a transfer embargo was put in place because of financial irregularities. It is believed that Crawley failed to confirm to the league that the debts had indeed been paid, and for the start of the 2007-08 season, a new regime was put into place, which included Victor Marley as club chairman and Steve Evans as manager. With Paul Rayner as an assistant, Crawley finished the season in a respectable 15th place and were runners-up in the Sussex Senior Cup, despite the club's financial position and points deduction. In April 2008, Prospect Estate Holdings Limited took control of Crawley after buying it from the SA Group in conjunction with former owner John Dewley. The club's financial worries were over, and the club could look to build again and start the 2008-9 season on a level playing field. After a short period of stability, Crawley Town ended up in the High Court in London to face a winding up order on the 17th of February 2010. Again, this was because of money being owed to HMRC. The hearing was adjourned until 17th of March 2010, and the latest setback appeared to be the end of Crawley Town, as the club had very few assets to sell in order to satisfy the debt. However, the case was later dismissed by the High Court, as the club proved the debt had been paid. In a move that showed confidence in the new management, on the 29th of March 2010, Crawley Borough Council agreed to lease the Broadfield Stadium to Crawley Town and to help secure the long-term sustainability of the club. In 2010, Bruce Winfield announced that he and Susan Carter had become majority shareholders and had attracted new investment for the club, some of which came from overseas. The investment allowed manager Steve Evans to start rebuilding the squad, which saw 23 players sign over a 6-month period, including Matt Tubbs for £70,000, Sergio Torres for a record of £100,000, and Richard Brodie for an undisclosed fee, which was estimated to be a new conference record of £275,000. The investment paid off as Crawley were challenging for promotion to the Football League and embarked on a remarkable FA Cup run. Victories over Newport County, Guiseley, and Swindon Town saw the club progress to a third-round tie at home to Championship side Derby County. They won 2-1 United in the fourth round. The fifth round draw saw Crawley face an away tie with then Premier League leaders Manchester United, with manager Steve Evans admitting it was the tie of his dreams. Crawley lost the fifth round tie only by a slender 1-0 in front of 9,000 Crawley fans, though were denied a draw when Richard Brodie's header hit the bar in the 93rd minute. In March 2011, club owner Bruce Winfield died from cancer, aged 61. Despite their cup run and the death of owner Bruce Winfield, Crawley didn't halt their progress in the league, as just 19 days after Winfield's death, Crawley secured the 2010-11 Football Conference title by beating Tamworth 3-0. No more fitting of a tribute, I'm sure. And they reached the Football League for the first time in the club's history. In the 2011-12 season, they once again enjoyed success in the FA Cup, beating Championships clubs Bristol City and Hull City, both 1-0 home and away respectively. They suffered a 2-0 defeat against Stoke City in the fifth round. This was Crawley's first match against Premier League opposition at the Broadfield Stadium. Crawley finished 2011 at the top of League Two, a positive start to their first campaign in league football. However, despite continued success in the FA Cup, form slipped. Between the 17th of December 2011 and the 13th of March 2012, Crawley won just 2 league games out of a possible 14. Many argued the sales of Matt Tubbs and Tyrone Barnett for £800,000 and £1,100,000 respectively, as well as failing to reach a deal over and Drury, contributed to their dip in form. 3 Crawley players were involved in a post-match brawl against Bradford City, including former club captain Pablo Mills, who was suspended for 6 matches, and fellow defender Claude Davis, who was suspended for 4 matches. 5 players from both of the clubs were suspended in total, equaling the record for the most dismissals in an English game. Consequently, Crawley were fined £18,000, and following an FA inquiry into the events that took place, Kyle McFadzean was handed a 4-game suspension after being found guilty of violent conduct. That doesn't surprise me at all. I know how violent a player he actually is. All 3 players have since released apology statements and were all fined 2 weeks' wages. Despite apologising, Mills was stripped of his captaincy for behaviour not befitting the role of a club captain, and he was released by the club at the conclusion of the 2011-12 season. On the 9th of April, it was announced that Steve Evans had parted company with Crawley to take up a post at Rotherham United. Evans revealed, "In my opinion, how far can I take Crawley Town? League One certainly, but beyond that I was not so sure." Evans had previously admitted frustration over the departures of Matt Ubbs and Tyrone Barnett, and assistant manager Paul Rayner also left the club with immediate effect, with coach Craig Brewster taking over as manager for the remainder of the season. Steve Coppell was appointed as director of football with immediate effect. On Saturday, the 5th of May, Crawley secured League One promotion, courtesy of a 67th minute Scott Nielsen strike against Accrington Stanley. It was announced on the 12th of May that Crawley were in talks to appoint Sean O'Driscoll as their new manager. Under a tight budget at Doncaster Rovers, he achieved promotion to the Football League Championship in their first full season, and he was appointed as manager 4 days later. Despite Crawley chief executive Alan Williams being convinced they had made the perfect appointment, he left on the 12th of July to become the new manager of Nottingham Forest, meaning that he did not take charge of Crawley for a single game. On the 7th of August 2012, Crawley appointed Bury manager Richie Barker as their new manager. Under Barker's management, the club had a successful debut season in League One, challenging for the playoffs for much of the campaign and finishing a comfortably 10th place finish. And the club caused controversy, however, by banning a reporter from Crawley News because the club's management disliked two of his paper's headlines. The club were condemned for this in a motion signed by 23 MPs on the 10th of December 2013. Barker was sacked early in the following season for speaking to League Two side Portsmouth about their manager's job. He was replaced by John Gregory, who steered the club to another mid-table finish, despite a poor late run. The 2014-15 season saw Crawley struggle for form, and Gregory resigned for health reasons near the end of 2014, with the club in the relegation zone. Dean Saunders was appointed to replace him on an interim basis, and despite an upturn in form, he was unable to get the club out of trouble. And on Monday, the 3rd of May, Crawley were relegated to League Two, following a 2-1 defeat at home to Coventry City. Saunders' short-term deal was not renewed after the season ended, and he was replaced by Mark Yates. While Crawley were among the pre-season promotion favourites, a run of just one win in their first 10 games quickly put paid to any such hopes, and their form improved as the season progressed, with the West Sussex outfit 12th by the Boxing Day that year, and in March 2016, the club was purchased by Turkish businessman Ziya Eren, who set a target for the club to be playing in the Championship within 8 to 10 years. Still don't see it happening, to be honest. And following a run of 6 consecutive defeats, Yates was sacked just before the season ended, with Dermot Drummie appointed as his successor. The 2016-17 season started strongly for the Reds, and the fans liked the new strategy put in place by the new manager Dermot Drummie. However, Dermot Drummie and his assistant Matt Gray were both sacked after a year in charge as a consequence of poor results. That placed Crawley just above the relegation zone. After drawing at home to Carlisle United 3-3, after captain Jimmy Smith's late goal, Crawley would be kept in the EFL League Two at least for another season. On the 4th of May, the club sacked assistant Matt Gray and head coach Dermot Drummie after under a year in charge. And shortly over a year later, on the 27th of November 2017, Drummie was found dead near the A414 in Hoddesdon, with the cause of death later confirmed to be suicide. And that's a very tragic way to go, and I hope that his family and friends are dealing with the loss. I'm sure that's still hitting them 5 years later. On the 23rd of May 2017, former Leeds United winger Harry Kewell was appointed as head coach, becoming the first Australian to coach a professional English side, with Warren Feeney appointed as assistant manager to Kewell. Kewell managed Crawley to a 14th place finish, which was their best since their relegation from League One, but Kewell left the club shortly into the 2018-19 season to manage fellow League Two club Notts County. Gabriel Chioffi was appointed as successor a week later and led the club to finish 19th that season. The 2019-20 season saw Crawley Town compete in League Two for a fifth consecutive season. Despite the club reaching the fourth round of the EFL Cup, their best performance in that competition, manager Gabriel Chioffi left the club by mutual consent on the 2nd of December 2019, with the club having won just once in the previous 11 matches, with the club 17th in League Two. Chioffi was replaced by former manager John Yems 3 days later on a deal until the end of the season. Following an upturn in the club's form, with Crawley losing just 2 of the following 11 matches, Yems' contract was extended until the end of the 2022-23 season in late January 2020. However, in March 2020, League Two season was postponed due to COVID-19 pandemic, with Crawley still having a further 9 games to play. The season was later cancelled, with Crawley finishing in 13th, after clubs agreed to base the final table on a points per game basis. On the 7th of April 2022, it was announced that the club had been acquired by WAGMI United LLC, a group of US cryptocurrency investors. Turns out that the Turkish businessman never got his wish to see Crawley in the championship, unsurprisingly. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you're new around here. That'd be hugely appreciated. On Friday will be my Premier League predictions, although I'll be pre-recording them and uploading it as a video. I'm very busy on Friday, and I think I'm going on holiday. I'm not entirely sure when. Maybe not be able to have the Monday from Monday, but I don't know. But goodbye for now.